Guys, it's your girl T, and I want to come on camera and talk to you guys about the whole Kanye West interview. Kanye West has been on a media frenzy. So it all started yesterday when he went on the Breakfast Club with Angela Yee, DJ Envy, and Charlamagne the God. So they interviewed him yesterday, and it was such a good interview. I think it was one of the best interviews that the Breakfast Club has done thus far, and I watch all their interviews. Basically, a lot of folks are kind of going in on Charlamagne. They're saying that he's a coon and that they didn't really like where he was coming at Kanye. Other folks, are saying that Kanye's arrogant. It was a stupid interview. But I think, though, a lot of folks, you have to go back and watch that interview a few times. Like, I literally had to watch the interview 3 times. It's easy to dismiss Kanye and say that that's just the rantings of a lunatic, but if you guys really listen to what he's saying, he's spitting a lot of truth. Now, I do give Charlamagne the God for interviewing him and holding his feet to the fire, calling him out, saying what folks have been saying about him online, that his album sucks, that he's Mr. Kardashian, that he's tripping. He called him out about the whole Obama situation. So I think Charlamagne did a great job interviewing him. I think the only thing that bothered me about the interview is the fact that Charlamagne is so comfortable putting Kanye in a box and telling him to just stick to music and just stick to producing. Charlamagne, had you just stuck to being an intern at a radio station in South Carolina, you would not be where you are to this day. Everyone needs to strive to do better. Everyone needs to strive to do more. Do I want to sit here and make YouTube videos the rest of my life? No. I hope that with me making these videos, I end up doing something bigger and better. We should always have bigger goals. Charlamagne went from being an intern to, being Wendy Williams' sidekick to now being on one of the hottest radio shows. And now he's doing stuff on MTV too. So you got to think bigger and better. But for y'all who don't realize what Kanye was trying to say in his own narcissistic, condescending way, is the fact that he's talking about black economics. He's talking about how black folks, we don't own shit. I think a lot of that went over a lot of people's heads. When he was talking about these 7 black billionaires, I believe that he was equating that to the 7% of the people that are rich in this world who run everything, who dictate the latest fashion, who dictates the latest trends. Why is it that people feel like they have to have the latest bag or Beats by Dre? This is all by design. Like he said, we're all slaves to the industry. We're all slaves to fashion. Black people are some of the biggest consumers in this world. We will consume everything. We buy everything. We make everyone else rich. But as black people globally, and that goes for Africans, African Americans, people from the islands, we don't own shit. And that's the truth of the matter. We don't own anything. And I think what he's trying to do with this whole fashion line is the fact that he wants to basically build his own fashion line. He feels like, why do I have to ask, Louis Vuitton for help? Why do I have to go to Nike? Why don't I have my own distribution? We don't own any factories. We don't own any manufacturing companies. We don't own any ships. So we have to go through these mega corporations to get our stuff out there. And Kanye's saying that, why does he have to do that? That's basically what he's saying in his own narcissistic way. I found it crazy that he was comparing himself to Michael Jackson and Steve Jobs. And, he's saying that he's so revolutionary. And I think the reason why people dismiss Kanye as being crazy is the fact that he's fighting a battle within himself. When you go back to his first albums, I love College Dropout. I loved all his albums up until recently. He was very conscious. He was always slipping little jewels in there to make you really, really think. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of good music out. He said a lot of stuff he said a lot of socially conscious stuff, but he's changed so much. And the thing that bothers me at times, too, is the way that he contradicts himself. It's like, okay, so you don't want us to be a slave, to fashion. You don't want us to go and spend all this money with Nike and all, Louis Vuitton and all these big-name companies, but you want us to go spend our money with you. Well, then how about you make it more affordable so that way kids will go and spend your money with you? And he's saying that, the white t-shirts that he sold for $150, it wasn't his fault. He had nothing to do with the pricing because after distribution and after getting everything shipped here, they come up with their own pricing, which I can understand that point. But I think that it's almost hypocritical to say don't buy that and don't buy this, but shop with me. But then when I see everything that Kanye has put out, it's been really expensive. Yes, I can afford to wear some of Kanye's stuff. Yes, I can afford to buy Kanye's shoes, but a lot of people can't. And I don't believe in living above your means. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not that type of person who myself is a slave to fashion. This sweater cost me $10 and these leggings cost me $5. I don't give a damn about the latest trends. I don't care how everybody else is dressing. I wear what fits my body, what makes me feel comfortable, and if I like it. You know what I'm saying? I think that interview went over a lot of people's heads because he was ranting so hard and going back and forth. You know, and a lot of folks are, you know, upset with Charlamagne because they feel like, okay, why would you try and put Kanye in a box? You should want more from him and things like that. But like I said, I still respect the way Charlamagne came at Kanye because he came at him real. You know, he told him he has a lot of yes men around him. He told him what, you know, a lot of folks were thinking, and he called him out on a lot of his hypocrisy. So I give the Breakfast Club props for such a good interview. Well, later on that day, I guess, you know, Kanye must have still been frustrated from the Breakfast Club interview because he went to go sit down with Sway, and I'm a big Sway fan. Sway has been doing his thing for years, and I don't think he gets enough credit. So at the 17 mark of the video, Kanye starts flipping out on Sway because Sway's asking him, you know, why do you have to go through these companies? Why do you have to go through Marc Jacobs and through such and such? Why don't you build your own brand? Why don't you build your own companies? And Kanye starts going off on him, talking about you don't understand, you don't have the answers. And Sway's like, yeah, of course I don't have the answers. I'm asking you. You know, and I think that Sway held that shit like a professional. Because I was just waiting for Sway to take out that damn hat and knock Kanye out. Because it's like, Kanye, why are you going so hard at Sway? But then I had to think back, like, you know what? Him and Kanye are really friends. They're very, very close. So sometimes you tend to go off on those who love you the most. Just like sometimes you'll attack a family member before you'll attack a stranger on the street. So folks who are saying like, how he gonna go at Sway but not at Charlamagne? Kanye don't know Charlamagne the guy. So it's like, why would he even give him the time of day to even give him a reaction? Whereas because him and Sway are so close, I think that's why Kanye, you know, kind of took out his frustrations out on Sway. But I respected it at the end when he apologized and they hugged it out. But Sway made some good points because when Kanye was talking about all this fashion shit, I'm not into fashion like that. You know, there's certain things I like, but I'm not into the latest this, the latest that. It's not a big deal to me. Regardless if I can afford it or not, I don't care. So when he was saying all these designer names, that shit was going over my head because I'm not into fashion. So I love the fact that Sway was like, you know, you can't get mad because I'm asking you a question. These names sound foreign to me. And that's the truth. The names that Kanye was dropping sounded foreign to me, and I'm a female. Sway is a very simple dude. He's not going to be on GQ magazine, so I understand him, you know, for asking that question. I just think that Kanye needs to learn how to better articulate himself, and he needs to keep his emotions in check. When you can't check your emotions and you're so quick to erupt and go off on, you know, long tangents, it just makes you sound crazy. You know, even when you're dropping jewels, those jewels miss the people that you're trying to drop them to because your rantings and your ravings is what impacts people, not those jewels that you were dropping. So if he can keep his emotions in check, more folks will understand where Kanye was coming from. At the end of the day, as black folks, like I said, we're one of the biggest consumers and we need to start doing better economically. We give the Koreans billions of dollars for hair weave. The hair weave business is a billion-dollar industry, and the black community, who is the biggest consumers, we don't see a dime of that. But when I say something about it, I get cussed out. I can wear weave. Nobody said you can't wear weave. It's just the point. Why don't we have our own black manufacturing companies? Why don't we have our own black stores? Why aren't more black people able to own beauty supply stores? Why is it all going to the Asians and not to the black communities who are the biggest spenders in those fucking stores? So that's the point that I understand where Kanye's coming from. You know, we'll go out here and we'll put so much money into somebody else's pockets for some red bottoms, you know what I'm saying, when that money could be used to, you know, generate wealth in our own community. I just think a lot of us need to stop being such big consumers and stop buying stuff, trying to front for other people. You know, as long as you're happy within yourself and you're comfortable within yourself, I don't think brands make people. I don't think rocking a pair of Jordans or having red bottoms makes you. You know, I think what makes you is you as a person. And I appreciate Kanye for a lot of the stuff that he said. I think I got to know a lot more of him and his thought pattern and the way he thinks watching both of these interviews, because for the past few months I've been real turned off from Kanye and his blatant disrespect and the way that he just goes on and carries on about Kim. But now I kind of see where he's coming from. You know, I think he's just one of those dudes, it's like he's conflicted. He's conscious, but he has himself in a crazy situation where he's conscious, he was raised better, but now he's messing with this Kim Kardashian chick who's not his baby's mother. So it's like he's trying to straddle both sides of the fence, and it's like it's eating him alive. He's like a tortured soul. So I don't know. But both interviews were real, real good. So what I want y'all to do is go ahead. If you have not checked out the interviews, I'm going to go ahead and post a link down below. Check out both interviews and let me know your thoughts on the entire situation. How do you feel about Charlamagne and Kanye, you know, going back and forth? And how do you feel about Kanye going off on Sway? And then how do you feel about what Kanye was saying in general? Did you understand where he was coming from? Or do you just think he's just narcissistic and he's just full of himself? So let me know your thoughts. All right. Deuces.